Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is episode 29 of High Street Sports. My name is Chris. This is Vince. Ohio State coming off a 30-24 loss in Ann Arbor this past Saturday for their third straight loss in the rivalry. And it is a third straight season where Ohio State will not be playing for a Big Ten championship and will need tons of help to get into a college football playoff. Vince, what are your initial thoughts coming off of Saturday before we dive deep into this conversation?
Yeah, we keep talking about playoffs. I don't want any playoffs this season. That's where I'm at, but I'll save that for a little later in the show. It was a tough loss, but you do what you got to do and recover. We still got a bowl game, which is likely going to be a preseason game for 2024. So get the 2024 hype going right now, I guess.
Yeah, it's a tough game, especially when you look back and you really see how Ohio State played all year and, coming towards this game and some of the decisions that have happened throughout the year and some of the, final scores and things that have come with those games and everything that really led to this moment. Everybody talked about all season and all off season. Ryan Day has, done everything in his power to get ready for this game, get the guys ready for this game. Denzel Burke came out and said, they're going to come out and get it done for the state of Ohio. Didn't happen that way. And you kind of go back to the drawing board now and, maybe the previous 2 years were tainted for obvious reasons here. But this one, you really don't have any excuse as to why you didn't get it done. And, we will get into some of these things as we go along in this episode. But, Ohio State is sitting at 11-1. No matter how bad this loss stings, it is 11-1. But they will not be reaching their goals. So that is, the tough pill to swallow here. And when you're an Ohio State Buckeye in any capacity, a fan, player, coach, etc., the big one is to Michigan. And if you lose that game to Michigan, then the season feels like a loss. And so, we're sitting here right now on the outside looking in, a team that is in no doubt in my mind one of the best 4 teams in the country. But when you lose a game like that, you really don't get the right to claim that. So we have the first question here. Can Ryan Day once again beat Michigan? And what has to happen in your mind for Ohio State to get back to that point?
Yeah, I think for Ohio State to finally beat Michigan once again and Ryan Day to get closer to evening it up for himself, I really think he needs to invest all in. The only goal after next season or after this season should be to beat Michigan. Who cares about going to a Big Ten championship? Who cares about a playoff where it's going to be a 12-team playoff anyway? So your sole goal for 365 days should be to beat Michigan. That's how you get back to this, because that's what Michigan has done and what they did to turn this around. And the only way that you can win this rivalry is to focus on it as your ultimate goal to make things happen. So maybe this is just the first step towards the ultimate goals, but you got to call this the ultimate goal. This has to be the main focus. You have to go out there and hate them again, because I feel like all of the hate is coming from up north, and Ohio State is kind of soft in that nature. I don't think they're a soft team. They play hard and aggressive, but I think that it is a mentality where they need to shift it from Michigan's just the last roadblock before we hit our goals to Michigan is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Once you do that, I think that they will finally come back to earth, and this rivalry will go back to what it should be, where Ohio State is just whipping Michigan like nobody's business, because I don't think that Michigan team was very good or as good as teams in past have been. I would say that over the past 3 years of losses, this is probably, I would say, the second best team that we've lost to. Um, just because I think last year's was actually better.
I
Um,
agree.
and it's tough. It's tough, especially when it's close. So it makes you wonder, did the sign stealing have any factor in the game? We don't know. And it would be a disservice to say that it would have changed the outcome, because we saw what it was straight up with a coach that was gone. So what are your thoughts there?
You know, I think you're right, and I think, um, listen, I want to be the first to come out and say, like, I don't necessarily think, and obviously everybody, when things are happening and you're fresh in the moment, and you know it's frustrating, and it's um not easy to come to terms with. I don't think, you know, after the 2 decades of dominance that Ohio State's had, to come around and now lose three in a row, and you know, I don't think Ryan Day deserves to lose his job quite yet. You know, I think his record speaks for himself. Um, he's only lost three Big Ten matchups, but you know the part that sucks about that is they've all been to Michigan, and so that's a problem, and it needs to get cleaned up. But on the other side of that, I don't think that Coach Day deserves to lose his job. However, you've got to find some way to get the edge back. You got to find a way to, you know, bring up a phrase from Urban's early part of his tenure is bring the juice. And
Mhm.
there's not much juice. And you know, you look out on the field, and obviously you don't want a G Scott situation where you have a very untimely, unsportsmanlike conduct, but mix it up a little bit. You know, there was no attitude on the field from what I could see, and you know, you can only see so much through the TV. But Michigan was flying around and hitting people. Travion got his bell rocked,
Mhm.
and that was the hardest hit in that game, and it was on Michigan's side. And so, you know, you got to kind of figure out a way to get scrappy again. You got to find a way to get that attitude back. And you would think after 2 years in a row of losing that game, that the attitude would be back, that the hunger would be back. And I'm not saying that the guys aren't hungry, because that's not fair. Um, but there's got to be some edge. There's got to be, you know, a level of hatred there that just doesn't seem like it's there from the players anymore. You know, you see the real raw emotional reaction from the former players on Twitter, most notably Maurice Claret, who was just, you know, going in about what happened and what he saw and what he's seen throughout the years of Ryan Day's tenure. And there's a lot of guys that are super hypercritical of Ryan Day. And you know, I think unless you're an Ohio State fan, you know, you really don't understand. And it's been odd to hear the conversation. Not odd to hear the conversation, because, like I said, I don't think he deserves to lose his job, nor should he go to A&M or wherever else. Um, you know, it's a little bit of an unfair standard at Ohio State, but you know that going in. And
Mhm.
I think the same thing holds true for Kyle McCord. Obviously, I think, you know, there's an unhinged part of the fan base that was way too hard on the kid. But you can't call that game just another game, because it's not. Um, that's a problem. And that sort of thinking in the locker room is why we are looking at the results that we're looking at. And I think, to your point, you know, that team that Michigan put on the field Saturday was not one of the better teams that we've seen in the last 3 years, nor in Jim Harbaugh's tenure. I think the 2016 team was better than that. I think last year's team was better than that. So when you look at it, you know, we'll just jump into our next point here. What went wrong?
Mhm.
Pressure. Pressure on JJ McCarthy went wrong. There was no pressure. They didn't make him uncomfortable. They didn't force him to make throws that, were all that crazy. Now he did get super lucky on 2 or 3 throws that, one, he was scrambling to his right, threw one all the way back across the field, that, just floated to that receiver. And then the throw that, looked like he was almost just trying to throw it away, that was pulled in on the sideline. I mean, there's breaks there that went Michigan's way. But with the defense that we've had all year long, I expected more pressure on JJ than we got. I think that was a little bit of, Knowles trying not to get burnt. But if you look at Michigan's playmakers, they didn't have anybody that was just going to outright beat Ohio State's defensive backs. And, I think that's more of the issue. Roman Wilson, talking a big game on Twitter right now, and I guess he's earned that right. But, he's not all that. He's nothing special. And, it's a situation where, I think they got burnt by big plays in the past, and I think Jim Knowles is scarred by that, and he knew he couldn't get beat over the top. And so, it's, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just, you got to get back to having that attitude. You got to get back to the real hatred that Tressel brought out, that Urban Meyer brought out, and you got to get back to that point. And, I think, Ryan Day's a great guy. He's a great, great guy. But, you said this, and every Ohio State fan was thinking it. Where was that unhinged Georgia game Ryan Day? Like, we didn't get that. That's what we needed.
Yeah, and where was cocaine Ryan Day? You really needed him. And I really feel like Ryan Day, for good or for bad, really kind of tightened up. And it almost seemed like at times he didn't trust Kyle to do anything, which leads me to, it leads me to another point where, is Kyle the bowl game? Is Kyle the quarterback, the starting quarterback, or plays the full game in a bowl game if it's not a playoff game? I think that the odds are stacked so far against Ohio State right now that playoffs are a hope, but I think it's far off. And do you want to sit through 2016 Clemson again, or would you prefer to go 2019 Rose Bowl, where Marv had his coming out party? If you're going to the Rose Bowl per se, I don't know, is it a semifinal this year?
I think it's a semifinal, but I think that Ohio State's projected to play Louisville in the Orange Bowl right now. But to answer your question, and I think I told you this the other day, that's a snooze fest, and nobody wants to see that game.
Hold on. Ohio State, Louisville. Ohio State would just go out and dominate Louisville. That would be sad.
And that's the thing. And again, I mentioned earlier that a lot of people have been really hard on Kyle McCord all year, but rightfully so. Like, you're the quarterback at Ohio State. Marvin Harrison came out in his press conference the other day after the Michigan game and basically said, it's unfortunate that Kyle has gone through what he's gone through, but at the same point, that's what comes with being the quarterback at Ohio State. So if you're not ready for it, then go somewhere else, period. And I say that with all due respect. But I do think that if Ohio State does end up missing the playoff, like it looks like they will, I would play Devin Brown. I would start Devin Brown, and I would let him get the lion's share of reps and let him see what, really see what he can do. And I think Kyle McCord did a lot of good things this year, and I don't want to understate that. But I think he is not the man for the job. And I don't think he's capable of making the necessary plays. I don't think he is ready to play in the games like at Michigan or in a playoff game. I can't help but think of what this team would look like with a CJ Stroud or even, I don't know, somebody else that's not even to that level. Like I just don't think Kyle played at a level that is required to win a game against your rival, win a game in the Big Ten championship, win a
Mhm.
playoff semifinal or a national championship. I just don't. I never saw it at any point this season.
Yeah, I mean, he did improve he didn't improve enough
No,
throughout the
he did
season.
not.
Obviously, you see that very quickly when you go play a team like Michigan in Ann Arbor.
Mhm.
Um, so you know it's one of those that you really want to see what other options are available. So does
You have
that
to.
mean yeah, right? Does that mean you tell Kyle, "Hey man, go get healthy. You got a banged up leg, knee, ankle, whatever. Go get healthy. Be ready for spring practice." And then you play a little bit of Lincoln, a little bit of Devon, just to see what you got, because you know that you have Aaron Nolan coming in January. You
Mhm. Who, by the way, posted on
presumably.
Twitter that
Mhm.
he's ready to take a stab at that job, which is what Ohio State needs. They need
Yeah.
somebody to come in and push. They need
Mhm.
somebody to bring life into that quarterback room. And I think it was really unfortunate the way that Devin got hurt in spring ball. But at the same point, you know, I think Kyle played by necessity in a lot of ways this year. I don't think that Devin made the progress in spring, summer, and fall that Ryan Day wanted to see. And I think Kyle played a little bit by necessity this year.
Mhm.
And you hope that Devin was able to take the reps that he got and practice well when he was healthy enough to practice and make that improvement over the season.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just you have to get a good feel of what you have going into next year before Aaron Nolan comes in the fold.
Yeah, and you know that leaves you with four viable quarterbacks, two that have been in the program at least, or sorry, three that have been in the program at least a year, um, two that have been in at least 2 years, and then that would be a fourth year Kyle McCord
Mhm.
and Aaron Nolan getting reps in spring. So that's a four-horse race. Then, do you think that there's anybody out there in the transfer portal that might be worth a look?
If Arch Manning becomes available, I think so.
Arch Manning is trash. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. He is just a Manning. That's it.
I think you give him a look.
I
I think you give him a
think
look.
if you didn't give DJU a look last year, then you're not giving Arch Manning a look.
DJU is damaged goods though.
But DJU, look at him. Look at what he did at Oregon State. He
I,
was
I'm
only
I'm o-
damaged. He was only damaged because of Dabo's cousins. He was
I
not. So what if
I get it.
Cape
I
Klubnik?
get it, but I would not. I would not.
But I say the same thing about Arch Manning. I mean, you're talking about Cooper Manning's kid, not this. This is not Peyton or Eli's child. This is Cooper Manning, the one Manning who did not play any pro football, and we're saying that this is the next
No, I
Peyton
didn't
or
say you're
Eli.
putting no, no,
No,
no.
no,
You're
no,
putting
no. I
words
know.
in
I'm
my
just saying the hype around him is that, and he went into Texas and isn't even the second string guy.
Yeah. I mean, I just
So
think it's worth
I
a look. I think it's worth a look. Now, I don't think Ohio State should go out and get him, but I think it's worth a look. And I don't know who else would become available. I can't really think of anybody off the top of my head around the country that would be, and Ohio State's not. It's got to be a Justin Fields type of player for Ohio State to go out and make that move and bring somebody like that in. And I just don't see anybody like that
it's
that's going to
it's
become available.
it's going to be Caleb Williams.
I don't even want that. I wouldn't touch Caleb Williams with a 10-foot pole.
Why
That dude
not?
is nothing but problems, nothing but issues. I
Is
don't
it
I don't
the
want that.
fingernail paint or
I don't I'm not a believer in Caleb Williams. I just don't. I'm gonna leave that where it's at. Out on Caleb Williams.
so? There's nobody then. Jackson Dart.
I now Jackson Dart would be somebody that I would take a look at. I think,
What about
as far
Jalen
as
Milrow?
Well, maybe if you get second half of the season, Jalen Milroe, then sure.
No, you would get
First part,
a
first
Tommy
first part of the season
Reese-less.
is no.
You would get a Tommy Reese-less Jalen Milroe, which would be the ultimate upgrade because Tommy Reese is the whole reason he has not developed.
That's fair.
I don't know what they're going to do at offensive coordinator next year,
Yeah.
because Tommy Reese has been really bad. Beside the point, you got to go look at who you got. Now, do you tell Devin, hey man, I can't take you seriously wearing that stupid 33 so that he can come back and look like a quarterback and we can get a real look at Devin?
I don't know, man. It's hard to reason against his reasoning for picking that number.
Look,
At
I
least
get
he
it. It's
has the
for
reason for
Sammy
picking that
Baugh,
number.
and
Yeah.
it's a good deal, but
It's a good gesture. It's a nice gesture. It would be nice to see him in a more, traditional quarterback number rather than to feel like there's a fullback out there throwing the ball. But hey,
yeah,
listen,
it just
whatever number is going to work.
reminds me of Shoelace.
Oh, okay. Well, he didn't have to do that. He stunk. He was so bad. So bad.
Fair enough.
I'd take Steve Belsari before I took Shoelace.
Pre or post DUI, Steve Belisari?
Post. A little bit of seasoned. A little bit of seasoned Steve Belsari.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. With or without, did he have David Boston? I can't remember if he had David Boston that when he was there.
I can't remember, but anyways.
So we kind of alluded to the bowl games. You say you talk optimistically about the playoffs. Do you think that Ohio State is going to get in, and do you want to see them in?
I don't think they'll get in because I don't see Florida State losing to Louisville. I also don't see Texas losing to Oklahoma State, and I don't know how much of a shot Georgia has at losing that game against Alabama. So Alabama
Georgia
was
wouldn't
down.
let her lose. Alabama has to lose because then that would make Alabama a 2-loss team. Because if Alabama wins, Georgia is a 1-loss team. They're both in.
Right. That's what I meant. I don't see the
trust
cards.
That Georgia's going to beat Alabama?
I do trust that Georgia's going to beat Alabama. I said that wrong. I don't see the things happening that Ohio State would need to get into the playoff happening. And, to be honest with you, I don't see Kyle McCord being able to do enough to win a playoff game for Ohio State. So, I'm not as in on Ohio State making the playoff without, winning the Big Ten as I was last year. And obviously everybody saw that team last year deserve to beat Georgia. And if they beat Georgia, they win a national championship. It's not the same scenario this year, I don't think. So no, I don't think that Ohio State has a chance to get in the playoff.
I don't either. I think that them going to the playoff would be, like I said, 2016. And I don't want that. Honestly, I don't want that. I kind of want to see them play Louisville in one of those games because you're just going to get a team that just goes out there and wrecks the opponent. And I think you kind of need that for Ohio State. I think you need that confidence to just go out there, hit some dudes, win some games, win a game, and take that momentum into next year. Very similar to, well, never mind. I was going to say the 2015 Ohio State team, but then that led to the 2016 Clemson game. So
yeah. It's just I think you're right. Like, I think you need a little bit of a get back game. Obviously I think Ohio State, given the chance, they showed. Now listen, we say all that to circle back, and before we get too far gone from the game that just happened, Ohio State is realistically 2 plays away from taking that game away. If you don't turn the ball over and give Michigan a short field after they couldn't
Mhm.
move the ball for their first 2 drives, and then get them a score, it should have been 10-7 at halftime. And then you come out and you answer the first 2 or 3 scores that Michigan had in the second half, and you're in it. Especially when you tie it up, and then you come down. Travion and gets that touchdown. Now the part about it is you got to get off the field with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's inexcusable.
Mhm.
But I think there was a lot of tired defense that had a lot to do with that too. But um, it's a situation where Ohio State's not far off at all, and we're not doom and gloom and Ohio State's finished forever, because that's not the case. But you're 2 plays away from winning that game realistically if you're Ohio State. And now the part that I would like to see change is, and a part that is frustrating for me personally to think about, is Michigan has somehow turned into the ultimate aggressor in this series, which is strange to me given the roster makeup. And I don't think there's anybody in the country that would argue, except for Michigan fans, that top to bottom, Ohio State has a much more talented roster than Michigan. And that's, I think it's pretty fair to say as far as player grades go. And they get this whole thing I've seen about, how Ohio State's scared to take the lower ranked guys and develop them. I don't think that's true either. There's plenty of 3-star guys on this team that end up being contributors, and things like that. So I don't think that's the issue. Where I think there's an issue is Ryan Day needs
Hold
to get
on,
back
hold
to
on,
his.
hold on. Let me push back on that one there. Yes, they have gotten better at recruiting the lower guys. I think what you're actually missing is stop taking developmental guys outside of Ohio. You need the in-state
Right.
developmental guys
Yeah.
because they have that hatred in them.
Mm-hmm.
Carry on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. That's a good point. But what I think, on offense especially needs to happen, because the defense carried the Buckeyes to a lot of wins this year. And I think what happens and what needs to happen with Ryan Day is he needs to get back to that fearless play calling he had when he first got to Ohio State. And what I mean by that is Michigan in the start of the second half was not afraid to put in their backup quarterback to spark the run game and get a quick 40 yards out of him and take him right back
Mhm.
out of the game. They were also not afraid to switch a look up where they ran a nice little pitch play to Donovan Edwards, who uncorked a pass for a big gain. Ohio State will not do that. And for that, I don't understand why. You have to be willing to take a chance in those games. And and I'm not saying that Ohio State needs to pull out all the gimmicky Greg Schiano trick play garbage, because I don't think that's the case at all. But what I do want to see is Ryan Day not be, timid in those games. And if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. That's why you have a top 2 defense in the country. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake, and the defense will go, handle business.
Mhm.
But you have to be willing to take that risk, and you have to be willing to try and get the ball to Marvin Harrison when you're having issues getting him the ball. You have to be willing to get the ball to Emeka in different ways when you might not be able to throw him the ball. Now Emeka did have a bad drop.
Mhm.
Who knows if he would have held onto that ball through that hit that he took anyways. But I just there's offensive creativity that lacks for Ohio State in recent years, and that I can't figure out.
There was some creativity in that game. The one of the best runs of the day was the Xavier Johnson run, where they motioned Trey out of the backfield and Xavier Johnson into the backfield, handed it off there, and that was a big run. And converted on a third down, I believe. But that's one of those where you have to bring 2, 3, 4 of those. And I feel like even the base stuff, even with as vanilla as it was, I don't think they executed that stuff well. And I
Mhm.
don't think that you can necessarily always bring those tricks in or wrinkles, if you're not executing the base play well.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it if you remember back in NCAA 2014, the last game, there was always um, a, a play action paired with a run in the playbook. And you could run the play action without running the run, but if you ran the run and were successful on it for like 2 or 3 times and then ran the play action, it gave you like a boost.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I'm talking about there is like you have to be able to do the basic fundamental stuff before you can add in those tricks. Like the interception, the interception where they went down and scored in the first half. Kyle McCord, Marv is running a slant on an RPO, and Kyle has to recognize the coverage that is there. And it was their really good corner. I can't think of his name right now. He was playing off and was able to, basically take away the slant by just jumping the route.
Mhm.
Marv can do a little better to keep that guy out of the way, but Kyle's got to make that read and not just, oh, boom, okay, Marv's coming on the backside. I'm just going to throw it to him no matter what. So
Yeah.
I think it's a multifaceted thing that Ryan Day didn't have confidence in Kyle McCord because Kyle McCord and the offense was not executing. Why weren't they executing? I don't know. Could it be some coaching? Could it be some confidence? Could it have just been that the game plan missed? Maybe they just swung and missed and they brought all the stuff that they said, man, we don't feel comfortable with this, but we got to go with it because it's what's in the plan.
There's got to be some level of deviation though. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you have any, and I think you're right about the confidence level that Day had and Kyle McCord didn't. Um, it's a shame that didn't grow this year because I think that if Kyle would have developed at a better rate than he did, then I think a lot of the season is a little bit different. So I just yeah, it's unfortunate that it played out the way that it did, but there we are talking about it again. Like Ohio State's 2 or 3 plays away from winning that game, and this conversation is much different than it is right now. So, um,
Yeah.
it's not all doom and gloom, but there's some stuff that is becoming a pattern, and for Ohio State to be successful and to get back to the level of quote unquote dominance that we're used to. Um, Something's going to have to change this offseason, and I think it's more imperative now than it has been in Day's tenure.
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the big things too is that Ryan Day is still also trying to manage the head coach stuff with calling the plays. And I think it's something that Buckeye fans are not looking at, or people don't want to throw this out there, but shouldn't Brian Hartline be at the point now where he can at least start to get to where they're calling plays? Like I I understand why they promoted him in air quotes last year, but you got to bring some additional value. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying that and this isn't an indictment on him. I think that he's done a great job um, bringing guys together and recruiting, but I think he's lacking a little bit in development. The wide receivers outside of Julian Fleming and spurts from Carnell Tate couldn't block to save their lives this year. Um, you've got guys, you watch Marv on film at times and you look at him and he's kind of not 100% effort, not a great polished route, those types of things. Marv's been here long enough that he should be crisp in all of those things, especially because he's the most talented college football player in the nation. Period.
Hmm.
The end.
Hmm.
He's the best guy on the field, but when he doesn't execute, yes, he's frustrated with himself, but I think this is where Ohio State has to get back to is no matter who it is, if you don't execute, accountability, accountability, accountability. And I
Hmm.
think that we've lost a little bit of that, and I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, and I made that point. I can't remember what game it was after earlier in the season, but I made the point of it kind of looked like Marv had a little bit of an effort issue, and that's not an indictment on him,
Mhm.
but at a certain point, uh, you hear it all the time. The standard is the standard at Ohio State, and that's not above anybody. And so, yeah, I think you might be onto something. But I don't know how much that day was willing to take the gloves off and kind of let Brian, kind of do his thing. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops this offseason as well. Um, and to really see if Hartline has a real future with Ohio State at offensive coordinator, or what the case is going to be there. So, um, yeah, I mean, I think this offseason is going to be an inflection point where Ryan Day really needs to look in the mirror and say, you know, what sacrifices do I have to make to really elevate this team back to what it can be? And I think the play calling situation is definitely one of them. We had the same conversation at the end of last year, and we're having it again this year. So, um, it was rumored that he was going to let it go and give it to Hartline, but that never happened. New quarterback, new offensive line, like all those kind of factors played into it, and I understand that. But you're right. At this point in the season, there should have been, um, you know, more willingness to trust Hartline, and especially after he's been in the offensive system for this long too. So yeah,
Mhm.
there's something left on the table there that Ohio State needs to go back and look at.
Yeah, and I think that it's one of those things where you have to evaluate it just because it is important.
Oh, it's a
Your
piece. It's a big
yeah,
piece.
your offense, and now maybe Ryan is maybe Ryan understands what needs done, but it seems as though there's a missing piece there. And another missing piece was Carnell Tate. I didn't see him at all on Saturday. Where was he? Why didn't he get any plays? He's certainly earned it from the time that he's shown on the field. Did something happen there? We didn't really see anything.
I think to your point, like it's Ryan Day feeling tight, and really, he has his trust level in Marv, and he has his trust level in Emeka and Cade and those guys and some of the older guys. And I think he tried to lean a little bit too hard on him rather than to have put Carnell in a situation where he can go have a Chris Olave moment. And unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yeah, and it's tough because it didn't happen, and I think that was a big thing, big key to the game there. Too, but you got to bring in guys. I mean, Michigan threw a halfback pass. Like, I mean, you got to do something to try to win the game.
That was
And
my point earlier about
mhm,
Ohio State not being willing to try those things. And like I understand the
yeah,
execution thing, but like at a certain point, you have to look at the game and where you're at in the game and what your team needs. Sharon Moore was willing to go do that. And I'm sure it was, put into the game plan at some point by Harbaugh throughout the week, but Sharon was the acting head coach. He was in a position to make that choice, and he made it, and it worked. I don't think Ohio State and Ryan Day have the cojones to go out there and make a decision like that and try something like that. But you have to, like, you've got to do whatever, anything in the tank that you have. Damn, putting it on film Anything that you
Mhm.
have, you need to empty the tank in that situation. And the Buckeyes did not do that on offense.
No, and it's tough. And I think even the third phase of the game was lackluster.
Yeah, let's have a conversation about that.
I think I think you need a couple of things on special teams. You need to emphasize the punt game. You need to emphasize kick and punt return and all of those coverages because my goodness, what are we doing getting 30-yard punts in the game?
Mirko
Like
was
this
horrible.
is yeah, yes. And I feel bad for Jaden Fielding because we know that he could have made that field goal that he missed. It sucked that he got iced. But even still, you probably knew that it was coming and you were going to get iced. Refocus, make the play. It we know that
I
you can
hate the
do it.
I hate the kick. Like, don't take the kick when they blow the whistle. I just
No.
don't. You missed it, and I don't think it has anything directly to do with that. But don't take that kick when they blow the whistle. Step off, take a
Mhm.
breath, and just do what you got to do. Now you have the question here written down, and I want you to say it because you're dancing
We're
around it.
getting
I
there.
want
No,
you to
no, no.
say it.
We're getting there. We're getting there. I
Okay.
want to
All
first
right.
talk about the unit and what went wrong there.
Okay.
Why was the best kick return of the season from Xavier Johnson, but we haven't seen him on kick return until this game? Okay. So why do you send Emeka Buka out there if you're not going to block for him on your punt return and all he's going to do is fair catch it? Can't you get somebody else out there just to fair catch?
Jaden Ballard, I would have kept Jaden Ballard out there. I don't think there's any
Mhm.
reason why. And I know Emeka's a dynamic playmaker, but I don't think there's any reason why you have Emeka back there to return those punts coming off an injury when you need him to be healthy and make plays at receiver. And another part to that punt situation is, if you're going to leave him back there unblocked, at least go for the damn kick. Like you're half-ass sending four guys as pressure up to the punter when you're not even really going for it. And like that swung momentum in the game by Denzel Burke blocking a punt. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
Denzel Ward, excuse me, Denzel Ward blocking a punt. Like, why? Where is that hungriness to go make a play on special teams? Like, there's no emphasis on blocking a punt. I don't think they've done that maybe since. And I could be very wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head when the last time that Ohio State blocked a punt was, but it seems like it's been more than 3 seasons ago. And I don't
Mhm.
like I don't get it. Like you have the athletes to go get a punt. Go do it. Like that to
Yes.
me, it just and especially when Michigan's punting from their own territory, which is what happened when Denzel Ward blocked a punt. Like
Mhm.
you just I don't know. I don't know. You got to go make plays happen.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out Emeka Ibuka punt returning totals at Ohio State. 18 total punt returns, 101 yards. His longest is 18 yards. Average is 5.6. That's
Not
not
good.
good.
No.
Not good at all.
No.
And a lot of it has to do with the coverage in front of him and the block and how they have it in front of him. So, is it time for Parker Fleming to move on?
Yes, and it's time for Ohio State to make the decision for him to move on. It is time to put that full-time position in James Laurinaitis' hands and let him go recruit. And because you're right now, you're wasting money, you're wasting a full-time position of somebody that is deserving. Um, yeah, it's a waste. And you can't have a full-time special teams coordinator if the special teams are going to be that bad. There's no justification for it at that point.
So who takes over for special teams then?
I don't know. Can't get any worse than it is now. So, I mean, it doesn't, I don't even think it matters. Like, just get him out of here. And thank you for everything you've done for the program. Like, not trying to be ungrateful, but get that position for James Laurinaitis so he can be a full-time linebackers coach. Let him go recruit and let him go get, some dudes and we'll figure out special teams later. I mean, I don't know. But it's not working right now.
I think the only guy on staff that has any special teams experience is either Tim Walton or Perry Eliano. Which we've seen it work before with Kerry Combs. He was a pretty good position coach that did special teams. Is that the answer? You have one of those guys take over special teams?
Sounds like that would be the only option. Or, I don't know. But
or
it's just
James Laurinaitis. I don't know how much he knows special teams, but
well, I'm sure he has a network of people that can teach him. And I don't, somebody who's going to go, treat special teams the way that Urban Meyer treated special teams. Like that is what you need. And it's part of what made Ohio State special during the Urban Meyer era. It's like you
and the
knew
Jim
that
Tressel era.
And the Tressel era, but I think most notably in the Urban era. Like you had, the receivers that Urban put
Are
on
you
special
just going to
teams.
disrespect my man,
No,
Captain Sweater Vest, like that?
No.
The punt was the best play in his offense.
And I get it. I'm talking about like punt return. We're talking about making plays happen when you need them.
Do you not remember two guys that wore the same number as Jordan Hancock?
I remember, yes.
Chris Gamble, Ted Ginn.
Yes. But did they block punts?
No. They returned them for touchdowns.
Well, I mean, you can't return a punt for a touchdown if nobody's blocking. And right now we're half-assed.
You're saying we need Chris Olave and Seven Banks back.
If that's going to work, then it's going to work. We need to stop sending half-ass punt block and leaving the returner by himself to make a fair catch or let it bounce behind him to get down inside the 5. I'm over it. Tired of it. So you can put Chris Gamble back there. You can put Ted Ginn back there. You can put David Boston, Mike Doss. I don't care who you put back there. Archie Griffin, Eddie George, it doesn't matter. Nobody's returning a punt to the end zone.
How are you going to disrespect Ted Ginn like that? The fastest human being alive.
If you put Ted Ginn back there right now, he's not taking a punt back. There's no coverage. There's no blocking.
It doesn't matter. Have you seen him run?
All right. We can agree to disagree on that one because
punter face mask and visor. Bro, it's happening.
Listen, there's no disrespect for Ted Ginn, but it doesn't matter who you put back there right now. It doesn't matter if it's Jaden Ballard. It doesn't matter if it's Emeka Egbuka. It doesn't matter if it's Ted Ginn. With the coverage the way that it is, the blocking the way that it is right now, nobody's taking it back to the house. And that's a fact.
We're so fired up about special teams.
That's
where we are.
This is where this has come to.
No, but seriously, I mean, they're just not good enough, and they really do have to be better for this team to be better. You need all three phases of the game, and I think there were two keys to the last national championship that I remember, and that would have been 2014 for Ohio State.
Oh, I hope you could remember that.
Yeah, it came out weird. So, if you remember in that 2014 season, there was a lot of hype, and it was hype with a meaning behind, or I guess a theme for the whole season, and that was 4 to 6 A to B.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that season, it kind of dropped off because it didn't need to be as prevalent because of the team that it was. But if you remember that, and Next Man Up was
Mm-hmm.
all what it was about. And I think one thing that we're really missing is those themes, and then also the mentality of those players. I don't remember a single player on that 2014 team that would have said this Michigan game is just another game. I think we need dogs back. So that's what I was getting at when I said earlier. And if you're going to um, take on these 3-star guys, make them in-state guys. Take the best in-state guy you can at every single position every year. I can't stress that enough. It doesn't matter how many dudes you got in your class. Just take one from every position. 22 Ohio guys every year. Whatever. You're going to take 4 DBs. So take one of those from Ohio. You're going to take 3 linebackers. Okay, take one from Ohio. You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Because I think you need to get that back where the mentality is beat Michigan all the time. And I think you'll see guys care on special teams more because they understand that that is the razor thin margin that changes this loss from a loss to a victory.
yeah, and it's. I think I don't know if it's fair to say that the importance of the rivalry has, kind of diminished inside the Woody, because I would hate to even assume that to be truth at any point ever, because I don't think that that's the case. But there is something to be said when you grow up in it. That's what you know that rivalry. You understand the hatred that's in that rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
You understand the feeling of wanting to do nothing but beat that team. And like I said, I don't think it's fair to say that that importance has been diminished inside the Woody, but I think that it needs to get turned back up to 10, and it needs to really be emphasized. And um and like I said earlier, you need more attitude on the field. And again, you need more of the Dontre Wilson. You need more of the Mike Hall. You need more of um, uh, Malik Hooker on the sideline pregame, getting it in with the guys. Like you need more edge to that rivalry. And I'm not saying start cheap fights. I'm not saying do anything that's going to put the team at risk, because if you put the team at risk, then you're not valuable. But
Mm-hmm.
what is more important is having the edge. Go talk shit. Like go get in somebody's face and make it known that you're here. Make it known that it's going to be 60 minutes of hell, and it's going to be knockdown, drag out, smash mouth football that Ohio State and Michigan is supposed to be, and be an aggressor, and go out and make your presence known. Because like I said, the hardest hit in the game was delivered from a Michigan player to Travion Henderson. And
Ben's face mask.
yeah, it was, I mean, he got popped.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no sign of that for the Buckeyes on Saturday. And that
No,
needs
and
to
there
come
wasn't
back.
any pushback from that either.
Nothing.
You know,
And you've kind of seen that since the Cam Brown incident a couple years ago. And Cam Brown was in it, but he was by himself for a good 10 to 15 seconds by himself.
mm-hmm.
And when Dontre got his helmet ripped off, there was a lot of people that were right there to come, get in it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
you need that attitude. You need that hatred. You need that level of want to beat that team. And over the last 3 years, I haven't seen it.
I haven't either, and that gets me to thinking: are these guys as close, and do they feel the same brotherhood? You hear
Yeah.
that, but if so, then why aren't they ready to go fight for their brother? Because what you're talking about is literally them not fighting for their brother. So what changed is what I'm asking.
I don't know. I think it's a different atmosphere with Ryan Day than it was with Urban Meyer, and it was with Tressel and stuff like that. Like it's you you used to hear in February, in March, about beating Michigan out of both of them.
Mhm.
In Tressel's introductory press conference, or was it at the basketball game or whenever it was, in 365 days when this team goes to Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Mhm.
It's stuff like that that I kind of think has been lost. And like I said, it's hard for out of state guys to fully understand what this rivalry means to the state of Ohio. And you got to find a way to get that back. And I think that I think Laurinaitis and Hartline and the guys that are in there do a great job of it. But you've got to get the edge that an Urban Meyer team had. You have to get the edge that that came with. And this defense was good. It was really good, but I need to see more hitting. Like come
Mhm.
downhill and hit somebody in the mouth and lay the wood on somebody. And there's too much arm tackling, there's too much this, there's so much that. Get nasty with it. And we've talked about it all year. One of our big
Mhm.
questions was, are the bullets back? And I think to a certain degree, yes, but I still think they have another hurdle to get over before they are fully back. And it's that physicality, it's that toughness, it's that you know it's just the juice needs to come back. And I know I've said that 100 times, but you got to find a way to bring the juice back. And that's something that I think Ohio State should emphasize this offseason.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those things where your defense right now is very, very good. You mentioned, are they the are the bullets back? I would say, I think for me to really say that, you need to sustain it now,
Hmm.
because I think what you showed us is what you can do with a really, really good team.
Hmm.
Let's see what it's like next year with a younger defense, probably still really good and more skilled, but can they break into that elite level, and can they keep going over and over? I think is really what's going to tell us, because we didn't call him BIA right away, just because Eli Apple and Garyon Conley had one good season. Um, we didn't call him BIA. You had to do that 2, 3, 4 first round draft picks before you get you get that name, you get that
Hmm.
proclamation. So
Hmm.
they're on their way, but I don't think they're back.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it's um I think another thing is, I think Ohio State's recruiting is in no danger here, but the defensive side of the recruiting needs to figure out a way to not miss on some of those top tier targets that they've missed on in the last 2 or 3 years. I think you really saw the absence of a truly dominant defensive end this season, and I think you saw that really rear its head Saturday in a situation where Ohio State could have gotten pressure on JJ McCarthy, but there's just something that was missing out of that group. So I think you really need to get back on the trail and figure out how to land some of these bona fide edge rushers. And you need to kind of shore up that defensive line, get that defensive line and linebacker room back to where, they have been in the past. And, I think once you clean up some of the recruiting misses and stuff like that, then I think, you'll really see the Silver Bullets kind of, you know, be consistently there and be able
Mhm.
to be called the Bullets again and to be able to be quote unquote back. So, I think there's, obviously there's always room to improve. And if at any point somebody says there's not, then it's time for you to move on. And so, Ohio State knows that. Ryan Day knows that. I think the staff, understands that. You can't have this happen over and
No.
over again. And it's an unfortunate time in the rivalry, but for anybody that says Ohio State is done or washed or whatever the case is, I've seen a lot of horrendously bad, outlandish takes on the Twitter machine. And
Mhm.
it's emotional. Fans are fans. You'll always have that lunatic fringe of fans that are gonna call for everybody's job and play doom and gloom all the time. But the reality is, this is a sport that's really hard to be at the top of year in and year out, and that just is what it is. But Ohio State has what it takes to do that. They've been there for 20 years, and they might not have always come away with a national championship or won the big game, but they're one of the top four most
Mhm.
consistent programs in the country, and that's not going to change. So there's obviously things that need to get worked on. And like I said, I think everybody knows that Ryan Day is going to take he's going to have to get over this one and get over it quick, because this sport is now a 365-day a year
Mhm.
sport, and it has no off days. And so I think he will need to deal with that and process this and get over this as soon as he can, and get back to doing what it takes to lead the Buckeyes into next year and figure out what's going on in the bowl season and really take a step back and look at the quarterback position and really everything is on the table.
Mhm.
So
I think it
there's a lot
has to
to.
be.
Yeah, it's got to be, because if, like I said, if you're complacent, then it's time for you to go. And these results are nothing to be complacent with. So it's hard to nitpick an 11-1 season, because there's a lot of programs that would kill for that. But when
Mhm.
you are Ohio State and you have the history that Ohio State does, and you have the players that Ohio State does, um, sometimes 11-1 just isn't acceptable. So that just is what it is. And we're here, and we will get through it, and we will be here through the bowl season and be here through the off season to bring you all the Ohio State
Mhm.
news that we have brought you this season. So any last thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly there by saying, 11-1 is not good enough, which is incredibly, incredibly difficult in its own. So
Mhm.
you just got to remember that really at the end of the day, the goal should be to beat Michigan. Um, I don't care if you're 1-11 and you beat Michigan, I'm happy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, but Ohio State is here for the third year in a row. They have a lot of soul searching to do, a lot of things to figure out in the program. Um, Ryan Day isn't going to go anywhere, as far as I'm concerned. I don't, that could change at any moment, I guess, but I don't think that Ryan Day is going anywhere. So the Buckeyes are here to stay. They will get back to it and figure things out like they always do. Hopefully, we will see a more physically imposing, fast run to the ball and hit somebody hard team like we have seen in the past. Guys, it's been a fun season. It's not over yet. We have a bowl game to get through here, but it's been a fun season. As our first with you guys here at High Street Sports.
Hmm.
We are on our way to 100 subs, so be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. Get locked here with everything that we've got coming forward. National college football conversation, NFL conversation still on the table here. We will move into some college hoops, hockey, and things like that as we develop here, going through the new year and things like that. So, as always, thank you guys for being here. Like, comment, subscribe, share the pod with somebody that hasn't seen it yet. And as always, we'll be back for more. We love Ohio State football. We love you guys. Thank you guys. My name is Chris for Vince. This has been High Street Sports.
Thanks.